Good morning, my dear students. Today I am going to focus a very interesting topic and very important topic also, that is physiology of speech and language. Now, what is speech? Speech is the process of expression of one's ideas and thoughts with the production of sounds. So clearly it involves some centers, very important centers of brain, as well as muscles of speech production, or also known as muscles of articulation. And what is language? Language is the means of communication. Is the means of communications of one ideas and thoughts, which involves various centers of brain. So speech and language uh, together plays important role, and they are processed via some common centers of brain. So based on these centers, action of the center, they are also called speech centers, and there are two types of speech centers. One is receptive speech centers or language centers, another one is executive or motor speech areas or motor speech centers. So that we'll discuss, but before that, again I am telling something about introduction of the speech and language, that speech and language, they both are expressed by interaction of common centers of brain, and they analyze the visual as well as auditory stimulus that we person get from through eyes by visual input, or through auditory stimulus, and that is analyzed via auditory cortex or visual cortex. Okay, so another, again I am telling that to understand the physiology of language is not so much easy. It is very complex, and only how we understand the physiology of language is mainly based on analysis the aphasia or defect in speech or language production in patients who has undergone any brain surgery or neurosurgery. So we don't have separate mechanism or separate study phenomena or research phenomena to understand the function of various centers or how language and speech are processed. So we can understand by analyzing the clinical features of aphasia when a person undergoes neurosurgery or brain surgery. So in this way, we can understand that the study analysis of the mechanism of speech and language, it's not so much easy, and it is a complex phenomenon. And the mechanism of speech, it needs a motor area, because motor function of is very much important. The motor activities of the speech muscles or articulation muscles is very much important, like lips, like tongue, then jaw muscles, which helps in production of the sound, is very much important. But at the same time, this motor area is stimulated based on the sensory analysis of the auditory or visual stimulus by auditory visual cortex, which enters into the sensory area. So there are two important sensory speech centers or language centers in the brain. These are, what are those? These are sensory speech areas, motor speech areas. So what is sensory speech area? Wernicke's area, I will discuss it, but before that, it is area number 22, Wernicke's area. It is a sensory speech area, and motor area is nothing but Broca's area, which is consists of area number 44 and 45. So this is sensory speech area and motor speech area or language area. They play important role in analysis of the sensory stimulus and helps in formation of speech or expression of speech through movement of the muscles of articulations or speech muscles of the speech production. Can you understand? So again I am telling, what is speech? Speech is nothing but expression of one's idea and thoughts with the production of sound. It requires motor analysis, expression of the motor areas, and of course sensory motor coordination of higher level. The person who is right-handed, for him the language or speech center is on the left hand or left side of the brain. Sorry, the person who are right-handed, their dominant side is the AD side of the brain, which have speech or language center. Can you understand? So right-sided person, they have speech or language area on the left side of the brain, and the left-sided person or left-handed person, their dominant side is the right side of the brain. So for them, the speech center or language center is on the right side of the brain. So again I am telling what is speech. So speech is nothing but expression of one's ideas and thoughts with the production of sound. And what is language? Language is nothing but mode of communication of one's ideas and thoughts, which needs association of various centers of brain, which may be defined as language or speech centers. Now let's focus on the language and speech centers of the brain. So language and speech centers, they are 4 in number. They are called speech areas or language areas. What are those? So they are divided into receptive area, also known as sensory speech area, and they are 2 in number. What are those? Receptive area or sensory speech area, they are Wernicke's area, so again I am telling the language and speech centers in the brain, it is divided in 4 in number, and they are also known as language area or speech area, and they are mostly present near the sylvian fissure, so they are also known as perisylvian areas. Can you understand? They are also called perisylvian areas, and one of the they are located in the association cortex. So they are mostly located in the association cortex and present in the sylvian, near the sylvian fissure of the brain. So they are also called perisylvian fissures, and they together they are called speech areas, and they are 4 in number. And what are those? Number 1 is receptive area, another one is executive area. Also known as motor speech area. What are those? Motor speech area are 2 types. One is Broca's area, and another one is so again I am telling the language and speech centers are divided into 2 important areas. One is receptive area, another one is executive area, also known as motor speech area. Now receptive area, they are 2 in number, and of course another so we can divide into most important 2 area. One is Wernicke's area, another one is angular gyrus, and we can also add area 41, 42. They also play an important role in as a receptive area. Okay, now let's see what are the importance of those important function of these areas. Now what is Wernicke's area? Wernicke's area actually, it is mostly present in the temporal lobe or parieto-temporo-occipital cortex. It is associated with parieto-temporal occipital cortex, and it was first discovered by or described by Carl Wernicke. So it is called Wernicke's area, and it is also known as area number 22. Okay, it is also called area number 22, and it is present in the superior temporal gyrus or temporal lobe, or also known as parieto-temporo-occipital association cortex. So Wernicke's area, it is also known as most important sensory speech area or sensory speech language or language area and language area. So it is first described by Carl Wernicke. Okay, and it is also called area number 22, and it is present in the superior temporal gyrus and or temporal lobe, and in better way we can explain the site is parieto-temporo-occipital association cortex. Can you understand? So this is Wernicke's area. So this is also best known as sensory speech area. Okay, it helps in recognition. It analyzes the visual impulse or auditory impulse that is coming from the angular gyrus, okay, and analyze the sound and helps in sensory perception of speech, and actually it analyzes the sounds or the visual impulse that is received through angular gyrus, which is the next important area. So from angular, first the visual impulse or auditory impulse enters angular gyrus. From angular gyrus it will enters into the Wernicke's area. The Wernicke's area is sensory speech area. It will analyze the sensory perception and ultimately it will give out the sensory stimulus or sensory pattern of the speech and pass it to the Broca's area, which is nothing but a motor speech area. Can you understand? So there is the function of Wernicke's area, and it is mainly help in recognition and construction of words and language. It helps in construction and recognition of words and language. So that is the most important function of Wernicke's area. And also helps in comprehension of words and language. Can you understand? So again I am telling what is Wernicke's area. Wernicke's area is the sensory area, and it is first described by Carl Wernicke in 1874. It is first described by Carl Wernicke in 1874, and it is also known as sensory speech area, and it is present in the superior temporal gyrus, which is nothing present, it is nowhere in the temporal lobe, and more specifically associated with parieto-temporo-occipital association cortex. Okay, so more we can think that Wernicke's area is present in the temporal lobe of the brain, and it is also called sensory speech area. It whatever visual inputs or auditory inputs from the angular gyrus, it ultimately analyzes those auditory and visual impulse and forms the sensory perception of any written words or auditory impulse. So it helps in sensory perception of impulse and help in development of sensory pattern of speech. We can transfer it to the Broca's area. So that is the important function of Wernicke's area. If there is damage of the Wernicke's area, what we will see? If there is damage of the Wernicke's area, we will see sensory anosmia. What is sensory anosmia? In sensory anosmia, what we will see? The person cannot read or write. They cannot analyze the visual or the auditory stimulus. That's why they will speak some words which has no meaning. So it is or new sounds words will make out. So we call it fluent aphasia and neologism and word blindness or word deafness. So those things we will see, we will discuss later. So remember, this is the important function of Wernicke's area, which is sensory speech area number 22, present in the temporal lobe. Next comes the angular gyrus. What is angular gyrus? Angular gyrus is another receptive area. Why they are called receptive area? They are called receptive area because they are responsible for they have sensory receptors, and they receive the visual or auditory impulse. Visual impulse means through eyes, whatever words we are seeing. Suppose a subject or someone is reading a book. So from the words, the visualization, it will enter the eyes. Through eyes, it will enter the angular gyrus. So angular gyrus, it pass it to the Wernicke's area, and ultimately they are responsible for reception of the sensory and auditory stimulus. Can you understand? So that's why there is the importance of receptive area. Now angular gyrus is also a receptive area, and it works by reception of the auditory and visual stimulus and pass it to the Wernicke's area. So it is also a type, it also forms a type of sensory speech area or receptive area. So what is the function of angular gyrus? It helps in perception of written words. It helps in perception of written words, and it is present on the inferior parietal cortex. It is present in the inferior parietal lobe. So it is present in the inferior parietal lobe and help in perception of written words. It is present in the inferior parietal lobe and help in the perception of written words. And what is area number 41, 42? They are also directly or indirectly associated with receptive area, and they are also they can be classified under sensory speech area, and they help in mostly in the analysis and perception of spoken language. So whenever a person hears some sound or spoken language, they can help in perception of spoken language. Thus it helps in perception of spoken language. Next comes the executive area or motor speech area. There are two types, Broca's area and external writing area. What is Broca's area and where it is present? That is the most important. It is the area number 44 and 45. It is first described by Paul Broca in 1865. It was first described by Paul Broca in 1865, and it is also a most important motor speech area that is also defined in area number 44 and 45, described by Paul Broca in 1865, and it is mostly present in the frontal lobe and prefrontal association cortex. So it is present in the frontal lobe and prefrontal association cortex. It is present in the frontal lobe and prefrontal association cortex. Again I am telling, and this is the most important center for analysis of motor stimulus and pass it to the motor area, motor cortex, and ultimately help in movement of the articulation muscles or muscles of speech and production of speech, and ultimately help in speech development or speech production or language outcome. Can you understand? So what I mean to say, the Broca's area, it is the most important motor speech area. It is present in the frontal lobe and prefrontal association cortex, and also defined by area number 44 and 45. And how it helps? It is responsible for taking the sensory commands from the Wernicke's area and ultimately help in development of motor pattern of speech. Again I am telling, motor pattern of speech, and transfer it to the motor area. Okay, motor area, motor cortex. From there it passes to the brain stem and ultimately stimulate the muscles of articulation or muscles of production of speech, and ultimately help in speech production. Can you understand? So thus Broca's area plays very much important role. And what is external writing area? External writing area is another type of motor speech area, and how it helps? It helps in expression of writing written words. It helps in expression of written words. Can you understand? It takes the stimulus of the writing stimulus. If someone visualize and writing words, written words, it will be transferred from the Wernicke's area to the Broca's area, and it will ultimately analyze those written words, visualization, the impulse coming from the written words, and ultimately helps in expression of written words. It helps in expression of written words. And where it is present? It is present in the posterior frontal lobe. So it is present in the posterior frontal lobe and help in expression of written words. Okay. So again I am telling, language and speech centers of brain is very much important. They are 4 in number and divided into receptive area and executive area. And these language or speech centers are also known as language zone in the body, language zone of the brain, and also I told you they are 4 in number, and they are present in the sylvian fissure, near to the sylvian fissure. So they are also called perisylvian area. They are also called perisylvian area. And there are 2 types, receptive area and executive area. What is receptive area? They take the sensory stimulus. It may be visual stimulus or it may be auditory stimulus, and help in sensory pattern of speech or language, and ultimately they pass it to the Broca's area or the motor speech area. Okay. So receptive speech area are 2 in number, important. One is Wernicke's area, second one is angular gyrus, third one is area number 41 and 42. So what is Wernicke's area? It was first described by Carl Wernicke in 1874, and it is also known as area number 22. It is present in the superior temporal gyrus or temporal lobe, or also we can describe it as the paratotemporo-occipital association cortex. So it is present in the temporal lobe or superior temporal gyrus, and this is responsible for development of sensory analysis of the visual or auditory stimulus. And once the sensory pattern of the sound is produced and it passes the sensory pattern of the speech to the motor areas for final command, motor command. Okay, so that is the function of Wernicke's area. They help in comprehension of written words, comprehension of sounds, comprehension of visualized words. So in this way they help in the sensory perception of speech. Okay. Now next comes the angular gyrus. This is the area from where all the stimulus, visual stimulus or auditory stimulus is passes. It's the actual relay center. All the stimulus, visual stimulus or visual as well as auditory stimulus, pass it to the Wernicke's area, and from Wernicke's area it passes it to the Broca's area. So this is present in the inferior inferior parietal lobe. It is present in the inferior parietal lobe and helps in the written words, perception of written words. Okay, and another important area is area number 41 and 42. Next comes the executive area, or also known as motor speech area. There are two in number. One is Broca's area, another one is Exner writing area. What is Broca's area? This is the most important motor speech area, and it is also known as area number 44 and 45. It is present in the frontal lobe or prefrontal association cortex and helps in the development of motor pattern of speech. And we pass the whatever motor pattern of speech to the motor area and ultimately gives a motor command and ultimately helps in develop articulation of the speech areas, speech muscles, and help in the manifestation of speech or development of speech. So this is the important area. And external writing area, this is present in the posterior frontal lobe and it will help in the expression of written words. So these are the various language and speech centers of brain. Okay, so lesion in the Wernicke's area we call, if there is lesion in the Wernicke's area we call it leads to development of sensory aphasia. If there is a lesion in the Broca's area, we call it motor aphasia. Okay, that will be discussed after some time. Now we will focus on the most important, the mechanism of speech development. Mechanism of speech development or theory of speech and language. Now we will develop or discuss theory of speech and language. So what is the So this is the theory of speech. So what is the theory of speech? So we first see that from the visual cortex and auditory cortex or from association cortex, impulse will form visual input. Visual cortex will give visual input. Auditory cortex will give auditory stimulus or auditory input, and from the association cortex, all the stimulus will integrate and submerge on the angular gyrus. Now it acts as a relay center. As soon as it gets the stimulus from the visual cortex, association cortex and auditory stimulus, it passes the sensory stimulus into Wernicke's area, where it will be analyzed and ultimately helps in interpretation, and it will bring out the meaning of the words. Can you understand? Meaning of the words and analysis of the sensory stimulus from the whatever heard from the, when the person heard some voice or words through dictation or something else. So it will be analyzed, passed from the angular gyrus to the Wernicke's area. It is called sensory speech area or language, sensory speech and language area, also known as angular gyrus also known as area number 22, which is present. Where it is present? It is present in the superior temporal gyrus or temporal lobe, and this is the sensory perception of the speech and sensory develop area for sensory development of speech. So whatever the impulse it gets, it will analyze and find out the meaning of the words, or find out the interpret the words, and helps in development of the sensory perception of speech or words. So the sensory stimulus, now it will pass it to the Broca's area, which is nothing but the 44 and 45, area number 44, 45 present in the frontal lobe. Okay, and from the Broca's area, it helps in development of motor pattern of speech, or motor signal of speech, and transfer it to the motor area or motor cortex of the brain. From the motor area, it now motor area knows to give the motor commands to the lower part of brain, and ultimately it will stimulate the brain stem. From the brain stem, it is in connection with the basal ganglia and cerebellum. So basal ganglia and cerebellum also helps in will finally helps in modification of the muscles of speech, and ultimately the muscles of speech will be stimulated. And once the muscles of speech and or articulation muscles are stimulated, it helps in production of the speech and language. So in this way, actually, it helps in production of speech. So again, I am telling, whenever a person sees some words, or listens some words, or listens some lectures or speech, the words will first through visual input or through auditory input via visual cortex and auditory cortex, it will enter into the angular gyrus. So it acts as a relay center. It will forward the impulse, sensory impulse, to the Wernicke's area, and Wernicke's area will analyze the words, interpret the sensory stimulus, and find out the meaning of the words. Okay, and they will give the conceptual understanding of the words and whatever sound it heard, and ultimately bring out the meaning and transfer the meaning to the Broca's area, which help in the development of motor pattern of speech. This is area number 44, 45 present in the frontal lobe, and the motor pattern of speech is transferred into the motor area, which is a center for motor command of the human brain. See, motor area will stimulate the brain stem. Via brain stem, the muscles of speech will be stimulated. At this level, basal ganglia and cerebellum also try to modify the muscles of, try to modify the motor commands, okay, and regulate the movement of the muscle of speech accordingly. And finally, the articulation muscles will be stimulated, and which helps in speech and language development. So this is the theory of development of speech and language. Okay, so this is very much important. So we can understand that Wernicke's area is the sensory speech area, and Broca's area is the motor speech area. So these two areas is very much important. Lesion of the Wernicke's area leads to sensory aphasia, and a lesion in the Broca's area leads to motor aphasia. Okay, that will be discussed after some time. So that is the importance of Wernicke's and sensory area, and together we will explain here as, we are explaining as theory of speech and language development. Now we will focus on what are the disorders. What are the disorders of speech and language? That is very much important. So we must know what are the disorders of speech and language. First one is, so we'll discuss now the disorders of speech and language. So divide into aphasia, disturbance in speech due to some global disease. Example is Alzheimer's disease. Okay. So disorder of speech and language, number one is aphasia. Then number two is disturbance in speech due to global disease. Example is Alzheimer's disease. Now number three is dysarthria. We will discuss everything. Number 4 is, what is the number 4? Number 4 is aphonia. So we'll explain one by one. Okay, so the disorder of speech and language is divided into aphasia, also known as dysphasia, then disturbance in speech due to global disease, example Alzheimer's disease, and another one is dysarthria, and next one is aphonia. So let us explain one by one. What is aphasia? Aphasia is a defect in speech development or language output or language development due to lesion in some brain centers or lesion in some areas of brain. Okay, so due to lesion in some brain areas, due to lesion in brain, we will see speech defect, speech and language defect. Can you understand? So that is due to aphasia or dysphasia. Now, means if there is a lesion in the brain like speech centers, motor speech centers or sensory speech centers, it leads to aphasia or dysphasia. Now, what is disturbance in speech due to global disease? Here, some disease like Alzheimer's disease, it will leads to memory loss, and because of memory loss, the person cannot develop speech because they cannot remember the words or remember any sentence. So they will go on repeating the same words again and again. Okay, so that is also known as echolalia. Okay, so we will not go into detail. So that is not center of our main attraction. So this sometimes speech is also disturbed or become defective due to some global disease like Alzheimer's disease. What is Alzheimer's disease? It is a neuropsychiatric disorder. It is because defect in the nucleus of Maynard in the basal forebrain. Okay, and because of the decreased amount of acetylcholine secretion, we see the Alzheimer's disease and person have memory loss. Okay, and because of memory loss, they cannot develop any new words or they cannot do any spontaneous speech. Okay, so that such type of defect in speech is due to global disease. Example is Alzheimer's disease. Can you understand? And next one is dysarthria. Dysarthria actually is a defect in speech due to defect in the muscles of speech or articulation muscles. If there is a defect in the muscles which is responsible for development of speech, the defect we call it dysarthria. So there is no problem in the brain. There is no problem in the motor speech area or sensory speech area, or there is no memory defect. Here the problem lies in the neuromuscular junction. So it's a neuromuscular problem. Can you understand? So if there is a defect in the muscular problem or muscular defect or muscular pathology, the person cannot speak out. There is a problem in the movement of the lips. There is a movement in the problem of the tongue. They cannot. There is a problem in the any other defect. So they cannot ultimately. It's a muscular problem mainly. Muscular. So defect in the speech muscles.